Hi friends, I'm Olga Koelsch and welcome to my studio. The recent video about cherry flowers was so very well welcomed. Thank you very much. I decided to go further and show you how to paint a cherry blossom tree. And I know sometimes painting tree could be a bit scary because it's so many little details, flowers, leaves around. How to do with all this mess? I'll show you in a moment. I make a very quick sketch of the tree just to show how the stem will go. Sometimes the sakura trees, they have very curvy, nice stems, and actually the tree, something like this. And the rest will be improvising. I'm taking very diluted quinacridone rose and I mixed it with a hint of Van Dyke. You know, I do not like very open bright colors, but that's all up to you. And what I am doing right now, just with small touches of the brush, I cover all the tree, just like this. Sometimes I drag out the color to make the borders more fluffy, so it's very relaxing actually. What's important to remember that the sunshine from the top, I will paint a small little sunshine here, so we would never forget that the light goes from the top to the bottom, and that means that everything on the top will be lighter than in the bottom. So I try to dilute more colors here. I mean on the top branches, and I will be adding more and more contrast to the bottom branches. Now I take crop lock. It's a darker color, and I add a hint of Van Dyke, and I look at some areas which are still wet, and I add this mixture directly into wet areas to add some shades right away. And cherry tree, it has, let's say, clouds. It forms, if you think of cherry tree as a cloud, as a pink nice cloud which consists of small other clouds, and each and small cloud or ball, it has its own top which is light and its own bottom which is dark. And now with darker color we are going to make these bottom parts of our beautiful cherry tree. Just think about small little balls, put one on the other, or about just a big fluffy cloud. I like this comparison more, about big fluffy cloud. Now I would like to have quinacridone rose, but in much more solid color, and I want to make it with oxide red. No, actually I do not like oxide red, forget. With Van Dyke, and it should be a really dark and bold mixture, because now we start to add very shady spots here, and of course
on the bottom, and I paint with the tip of my brush to make it makes a lot of airy feeling, and it's more spacious and it's more interesting, intriguing, airy, fluffy. For example, if something went a little bit wrong, no problem. You just take the clean brush and drag out all the color, and we get a nice little cloud around, just like this. Now I want this part to dry a little bit. We will be back here. Now we could paint the stem. For the stem, I will just take one die, and with the tip of the brush I paint tiny lines. I want to paint a stem with tiny little lines to show the structure of the tree. And sakura trees, they have a lot of knots, they have very beautiful texture, so I'm just trying to copy that. And I just play around with different shades of Van Dyke color and oxide red. They could flow into each other, and sometimes I dilute it a little bit, and sometimes I paint just with the very dry brush. But mainly, you see, I mainly paint lines rather chaotically. But that's how it is. Again, a little bit darker on the bottom, and this part of the tree has more sunshine, so I will leave it brighter. I want to add more branches. Some branches we could see through the flowers. Of course, it would be nice maybe to wait a little bit until this is dry, if you want to get that crispy feeling. But I think like it is, it's also nice. It's still not dry yet. Let's wait. How to check if the paper is dry? You just very carefully touch it, and if it is cold, it means it's still wet. If it is normal temperature, it's okay to go. So now we need very bold and crispy colors. I start to combine everything I have here. It's crop lock and quinacridone rose, and again with the tip of the brush I go again on the top of our previous layer, and I add more details, more crispiness. Sometimes I try to not to touch these white areas. Sometimes I overlap, and it brings a lot of volume. But you see, I follow these C half circles curves because I remember about many clouds principle, and what I'm doing right now, I just emphasize it. The darker, the bolder color you have right now, the more contrast it brings, and this is nice. Try to avoid, that was a mistake, try to avoid paint with like dots. It doesn't look natural. just try to distribute all this. It's kind of very relaxing process. So if you're stressed or not in a good mind shape, paint few trees, cherry garden, and then everything will be back on its place, I promise. Tiny little details. I want a little bit to distribute colors here, to maybe too crispy in this region. I think here could be one more little cloud, don't you think? I like to combine sharp or precise strokes with fluffy ones. It brings some variety and vividness. Here I would like to remove a little bit. Maybe just last touches I would like to make with very dry brush. I dried. I even try to make the tip of the brush fluffy, and with this dry brush I go in some areas just to add the texture, Now the last thing I want to do, I think this is still a little bit too white. I will add some middle intense pink shade here to make a small little cloud here. It's very difficult to stop. I probably could record this video for hours, but you probably would not very much appreciate it, or would you? So that's almost basically done. The last thing is some extra branches. Just with the tip of the brush, relatively dry brush, with brave strokes, I could add some branches which goes out of the tree. Another direction, you see, it's better always go from the middle to the top, like this. Then it looks natural. Don't repeat my mistakes. Not so many, but also try to think how this branch goes under the tree, in the tree. So for example, here we see the big bold branch, and it needs to show up somehow in some spaces, and then it will give us a very natural, logic feeling of what's actually happening here. Few, I promise, just few last touches. When you start to paint your own cherry tree, you will understand why it's difficult to stop. And then you could write me in comments how was it? Was it very relaxing? How many trees have you painted? And was it really difficult to stop at some point? I'm very curious to see. Also a nice, I promise, nice last touch. We could add some pink petals which already fly on the ground and lie on the ground. It's beautiful, isn't it? Oh, I wish I could see it by myself one day. Have you seen it maybe in Japan? I mean, I would love to go to Japan and see it by myself. It's such a treat. So this is it. How do you like it?
Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the process. I'm looking so much forward to see your cherry trees. Tag me on Instagram, olga.koelsch. Please leave feedback in the comments what was easy to paint, what you would like me to paint with you. Your feedback is so very welcome. See you next time. Bye bye.